Older and high-risk people will be among the first to receive the vaccine. And the people in this group also happen to be grandparents. Our Kenesha Dees explains why it's especially important for grandparents in Alabama to get the vaccine.
According to the U.S. Census, Alabama is among the 5 states that rank the highest in percent of the population age 30 and older who are raising grandchildren. Local doctors say it's all the more reason why older and high-risk groups should get vaccinated.
If they get sick and they go in the hospital, have a prolonged illness, or worse, die from COVID, we've lost primary caregivers for children.
Pediatrician Dr. Pippa Abston says getting grandparents and older people vaccinated here in Alabama is more crucial than compared to other states.
We have different makeups of households, and so this vaccine will help in those situations for sure.
Neurologist Dr. Runa Rohr agrees with Abston the urgency for older and high-risk groups to get vaccinated.
That shows you it's even more important to make sure that we can vaccinate those grandparents, and sometimes even great-grandparents are raising children.
Abston says grandparents at high risk who receive the vaccine could also protect their grandchildren from getting the virus.
For some vaccines, vaccinating children protects adults. Hepatitis A is a good example. But in this case, it may turn out to be more the other direction.
She still encourages grandparents who get vaccinated to sanitize, social distance, and wear a mask.
That means your kids are safe. You still have to use precautions until we can vaccinate everybody who's willing to be vaccinated.
Putting the Valley first, Kenesha Dees, WZDX News.